Hey, shout out to Bam Adebayo, man, because he's been on an absolute tear over these last couple of weeks, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video. Now, we're going to be reacting to another Brady Hawk thread, who of course does a great job on Twitter, but we can just explain a little bit more in these videos. Now, a lot of the improvements that we've seen from Bam might just be a regression to the mean, because for the first 43 games of this season, he was pretty terrible. And I was not shy of criticizing him because this past offseason, he signed his max extension, which kicks in a couple of seasons, which will pay him $50+ million per season. And that was just way too much money for the Bam that we saw to start this season. Because in his first 43 games, he was averaging just under 16 points per game. He was shooting 45% from the field, which for a big man is not good at all. He was only getting you 27% from three, but he was getting you 10 rebounds and 4 assists, which is good. I like the 10 rebounds and 4 assists, but what I don't like is people were calling Bam Adebayo Miami Draymond Green, which I thought was very disrespectful at the time, but it kind of made sense considering the way he was used in the Heat system, and that was a big problem at the time. Now, I think a lot of Bam's struggles early on was related to Jimmy Butler. It just seemed like that whole situation was affecting him a lot. I don't know exactly why. We've seen those two have success at the same time over the last 5 seasons, although they didn't really work well together. It was more so like they were taking turns. We did see them sort of have success, but maybe all the drama and constantly getting asked questions about Jimmy, maybe that was affecting Bam Adebayo. Because since Jimmy was traded, or in the last 15 games specifically, that's when Bam Adebayo has really taken off and even looked like an elevated version of the great player that we saw last season. Because in the past 15 games, which is a decent sample size, it's about 18% of the season, he's averaging almost 22 points per game. He's still getting you 10 boards and 4 assists. But look at the jump in efficiency. He's up to 56% from the field and 37% from three. And that's on 3 attempts per game. So now I kind of want to get into this Brady Hawk thread and show where he's been attacking on offense and why he's been so successful. So in these first couple of clips, Brady talks about how Bam is now going to that face-up game, which he has been pretty great at these last couple of seasons. You can tell that the Heat are now featuring him on the offensive end. Look at this play right here where they're kind of playing a 4-out offense on the perimeter. You got Tyler Hero, 40% three-point shooter, although of late he's been pretty bad from three, but we know he's a great shooter. You got Alec Burks, who's like a 43% shooter. Duncan Robinson, best shooter in Heat history, and then Haywood Highsmith sitting over here in the corner where he's about 39% this season. So already you have great spacing from the jump before Bam Adebayo even touches the ball. Now notice how as soon as Bam touches the ball, everybody kind of starts going to the other side of the court. You see Tyler Hero walk up here, Alec Burks over here, and that leaves Bam Adebayo this entire side of the court to operate, where he's able to do a nice little sidestep and raise up over the taller Alex Sarr. But it's more to it than that. Bam catches the ball right here with Alex Sarr on his back, and look how he spins over his left shoulder to get into the face-up position. The reason I found this kind of interesting is because a lot of times we'll see Bam spin over the right shoulder. So it's pretty clear that he's been working on both, and that just makes him so much more of a dynamic player, because now when Bam catches the ball in the post here, Alex Sarr has no idea if he's going to quickly spin over the right shoulder and come this way towards the hoop, or go towards the outside and go baseline. In this case, Bam decides to spin over the left shoulder. And watch as he does a little bit of the Jimmy shimmy, where he kind of throws the defense off right here and then goes into that right side or side step to get and a little bit of fadeaway to get over Alex Sarr, who's about 7 feet tall. So he is taller than Bam Adebayo. That's why Bam goes to the fadeaway and the side step to get just enough space to raise over Alex Sarr. The confidence in this shot is just amazing. Does the little Jimmy shimmy. That's great footwork, no hesitation on the side step, and has plenty of space here and gets great elevation on the shot. Looks like he has about a foot between the ball and the top of Alex Sarr's hand there to raise up and just knock down that jumper, which is just an amazing play. And in the next part of this clip, you have Alec Burks operating as the ball handler here. He's going to find Bam Adebayo in the mid-range. Now, the spacing on this play isn't as good just because you see Khalil Ware here kind of close to the paint, which means Towns is kind of blocking off Bam's runway on the right side. Davion Mitchell is also standing inside the three-point line, leaving Jalen Brunson right here to also help on Bam if Bam wanted to drive to the right side. So ideally, next time Bam catches the ball in this position, Ware can kind of space out to the corner over here, and Davion can take a few steps back. But what you do want to notice is Bam does attack kind of quick here, so it really doesn't matter that there's not a lot of space, because there's no time for Brunson or Towns to even help or to even notice that Bam doesn't necessarily have the right side lane here. So Bam's able to do a nice little jab step and raise right over OG Anunoby. If you notice, dare I say, Bam Adebayo looks a little bit like Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh. I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but this little move you see here where he does the jab step, then quickly raises into the jumper is just that's a shot that we've seen many superstars make over the years. And in this case, Bam doesn't have to fade away too much because he's not being guarded by 7-foot Alex Sarr. He's being guarded by OG Anunoby, who's only about 6'7". So in this case, Bam does have the height advantage. So he does a little jab just to throw the defense off and then raises into that shot with the most confidence in the world and absolutely cashes it. This is a great play by Bam. And in these next couple of clips, Brady highlights Bam's improvements from shooting the three off of catch and shoots from both the corner and the top of the key. You can see right here, Brady says that Bam is 39% on catch and shoot threes over the last 15 games. Earlier, we said he was 37% overall, but he's up to 39% on catch and shoot, which is just insane efficiency. In this first clip, I want to know how, again, the spacing really isn't that great like we saw in the last clip. You can see, we'll start it for a second, Jaime and Ware kind of cut at the same time. And if you look at the Pacers defense, they have 4 guys in the paint, so there's really nowhere to operate. But fortunately, Bam Adebayo is now able to stretch the floor, so Tyler Hero does a great job attacking Andrew Nembhard to sort of get that dribble penetration that most great shots come from. Has great IQ to kick out to Bam Adebayo, who raises up with all the confidence in the world once again to knock down that three-pointer as he looks back at the bench, talks his little trash, which just shows the confidence that we're loving from Bam Adebayo. It gets me excited because this was a guy who was in his head for such a long time, and to see him feeling himself and having fun again is just very exciting to watch as a fan. And you see this time he has to draw Miles Turner all the way out of the paint. So if Bam was to miss, you got Khalil Ware here in decent rebounding position. Maybe Jaime Jaquez can attack Andrew Nembhard and get the board. Good things happen when you are stretching the other team's big outside of the paint, especially a guy like Miles Turner, who just kind of wants to camp in the paint and block shots. You're making him run out there and guard you. Only good things can happen when you make him do that. Now, in this next clip, you're going to see the Pacers are in a zone defense. Here's Miles Turner once again camping in the paint like we just said he likes to do. Terry Rozier is able to get a great dribble penetration, which he's not good at a lot of things, but he is shifty enough to get into the paint pretty consistently, so I will give Terry credit for that. He draws in the defense enough. You see Andrew Nembhard coming in here to help, and then Terry Rozier makes a nice read to get Bam Adebayo the ball at the top of the key. Andrew Nembhard does not even attempt to contest. I guess he hasn't read the scouting report on Bam Adebayo as of late because he doesn't even bother contesting the shot. And truthfully, it wouldn't matter even if he did, just because Bam Adebayo is so much taller than Nembhard. He's completely unaffected by him at all on that shot, and Bam raises up with no hesitation just to drill this shot. And this is critical because if teams try to go zone against the Miami Heat, you break a zone by getting into the paint and shooting threes. That's why they call a great three-point shooter a zone buster, because you can't possibly rotate fast enough to cover all areas of the court when you're in a zone. And shout out to Terry Rozier once again for the great dribble penetration and finding the open Bam Adebayo who knocks it down. And in these next few clips, Brady talks about Bam's great off-ball movement, which we've said many times is the sign of a great player. You don't need the ball to be successful because you can move without the ball if you have that kind of IQ. And Bam Adebayo certainly does. You could see here in this first clip, he is sitting in the corner here, but the Heat have some great ball movement. You see Hero starts with the ball. He kicks it out to Burks. Burks immediately swings to Terry, who makes a great read to immediately drive into the paint. As he drives, Bam Adebayo cut from this corner over here, and Terry throws a beautiful lob to Bam Adebayo, who's able to slam it. This is what happens when you pass the ball quickly and you don't sit there and Terry Rozier is not at the top of the key going bing, 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 bing. This is a great play by Terry Rozier and just an absolutely well-timed cut by Bam Adebayo to run behind the defense there. You see Alex Sarr is in the paint, completely worried about Terry Rozier's floater. I don't know why. Terry Rozier probably would have missed it, but because Terry Rozier has Alex Sarr occupied, Bam Adebayo was able to cut behind him, and you see there's nobody in the vicinity that could possibly stop Bam Adebayo on this shot. It's unfortunate we don't get more plays like this from Terry Rozier because, like we said previously, he is so good at getting into the paint. I really think we could see plays like this more often, so maybe we do going forward, but this is a great play overall by both guys. And the next clip starts off kind of weird because you're going to see a pick and roll to Haywood Highsmith, which I don't really love. Highsmith is definitely not the guy I want rolling to the rim, but he's going to set the screen on the right side of Brunson. Then he's going to kind of slip the screen and roll. Duncan throws a great pass to the roll man, as he usually does. But the reason this play does end up working out is because Haywood does a great job kind of attacking here and drawing Mitchell Robinson into him. Again, Mitchell Robinson, just like Miles Turner, is a guy that wants to camp in the paint, block shots. He sees ball, he goes to guard ball, and that's what happens here as Haywood Highsmith is going to catch the ball in the paint. And this, just like the last play, leaves the entire backside wide open. And this is another greatly timed cut by Bam Adebayo, who just makes it look easy. It's not as easy as it looks to get this kind of chemistry with your teammates. So as soon as Haywood gets into the paint, Bam Adebayo is right here in the dunker spot, and Haywood actually throws a perfectly timed and accurate lob to Bam Adebayo, who just gets the easy dunk. And it's a shame because if Bam Adebayo is making these plays with a guy like Haywood Highsmith and Terry Rozier, imagine if he had a real point guard. Imagine if he had a Isaiah Stevens. I don't know, maybe that's asking for a bit too much, but imagine if he had anyone who could consistently throw this lob pass. I really think that's a way where we could see Bam Adebayo achieve his full potential. But nonetheless, for now, this is a great play by Bam Adebayo, and it's nice to see him get some more easy buckets outside of just shooting mid-range jumpers. And in these next two clips, Brady talks about a different kind of Duncan and Bam connection. Of course, we know about the famous dribble handoff and the chemistry that those two have, but in these two clips, we actually see great off-ball screening by Duncan Robinson, which is another thing that really smart players do that I think it's taken for granted. If you don't have the ball, another way you can make plays is by doing off-ball screens. In this case, Duncan Robinson is going to set an off-ball screen for Bam Adebayo, who's able to pop right to his sweet spot right here, right at this 15, 16-foot elbow jumper. And of course, Mitchell Robinson is not quite fast enough to contest that because Bam pulls so quick and he has plenty of space to knock this shot down. And this is a shot that Bam Adebayo is going to hit 70% of the time. This is that Chris Bosh range that we talk about that is also now a huge part of Bam's wheelhouse. And in this second clip, it's the same exact thing. This time, Duncan is setting a screen on Karl Anthony Towns, who truthfully doesn't show great effort around getting around the Duncan screen. But I guess that's kind of been the knock on Towns. This is defensive effort. It could also be a little bit of poor communication by the Knicks because maybe Towns thought that Shamet was going to switch and he didn't. But either way, Bam Adebayo is able to get right to that 15-foot wing jumper, which is just going to be cash for him every time. And he doesn't hesitate at all. Just great follow through, great form. Bam's always had great form on his shot. He really has, especially for a big man. A lot of times they like to short arm it, especially from the mid-range, just because they are so big and strong. But if you look at Bam's follow through here, well, first you can see he jumps forward. Look at his base as he's jumping forward. He gets his arm fully extended. The follow through is crispy, and the shot is nothing but nets, as usual from Bam Adebayo in that range. And then in these next two clips, Brady talks about the physicality that we've seen from Bam over the last couple of weeks, which has been a problem for Bam over the last couple of years. So I do like that he's able to actually attack a few guys in these clips that are bigger than him. Starting with Alex Sarr, Bam Adebayo is going to get a pretty good entry pass from Kyle Anderson, who kind of sees Bam over the shoulder of Sarr here. Kyle Anderson, very underrated playmaker just because of things like this. He can see the angles and just throws a perfectly timed pass off a great angle to Bam. Bam takes one dribble into Alex Sarr, does a nice pump fake, and then look at that, puts the shoulder right into him. That's how you get space on a guy bigger than you. Throw him off balance. You can see Sarr actually take a step back. Look, his feet are right here. He's got about his left foot is on the restricted, or his left toe on his left foot is on the restricted area. After the Bam bump, his left toe is about a whole foot behind the top of that restricted area, and Bam's able to raise into his fadeaway. And just the touch on that shot, again, from a big man, is so underrated. To fade away from about 6 feet out and cash it nothing but net is very difficult, again, especially for a guy of his size. And we're talking nothing but net here. It doesn't hit it'd be so easy for this shot to hit the back rim, but Bam just has great poise and touch around the rim, especially after using his momentum to bump into Sar and then just lean the opposite way is great offensive execution by Bam. In this case, you have Tyler Hero once again lobbing the ball into Bam and then clearing out. Watch as Tyler Hero gets out of Bam's way to give Bam this entire space to operate. Bam's going to go right into his face-up, but then decides to attack Karl-Anthony Towns because Towns, for some reason, is playing a bit far off of Bam. In this case, I think Bam maybe could have pulled and raised, but he is a bit outside of the mid-range there. So I guess that's why Bam wanted to attack, especially since he had a little bit of a runway, as you can see here. But he does attack this time going to his right side, puts his body right into Towns, and I like he goes up quick right away with that little bit of a jump hook, and he doesn't fade away. Because although I did praise his fadeaway in the last clip, he kind of had to do that because, it was on Sar, a bit of a bigger defender. But I think Bam fades too much when he's being guarded by smaller defenders too. And I know in this case, Towns is also a bigger defender than Bam. But Bam should still be able to go straight up like he did in this clip. Watch how he just goes up with a jump hook into Karl-Anthony Towns and doesn't fade away. His body is straight up. It's perpendicular to the hardwood. He should do this more often on smaller defenders. Whenever we see Nikola Jovic get a mismatch with a smaller guy on him, Jovic puts his body into him and finishes with a jump hook just like this. Now, this is actually a bit of a difficult hook. This is like from 10 feet out here. But I just want to see more of this from Bam Adebayo and less fadeaways when he gets the ball in the post. But again, particularly when he has a smaller guy in him. In this case, he does do it on the bigger defender, but just great touch. And he does the same thing he did in the last clip where he bumps Towns to get space. Towns is completely off balance here, which is why Bam has to raise up right away before Towns can recover. And you can see there's no shot of Towns contesting this shot whatsoever. And finally, in these last two clips, Brady talks about Bam getting to his bread and butter, which is that pick and roll / pick and pop. You can see in this first clip here, you have Bam Adebayo doing a dribble handoff to Tyler Hero, and Tyler Hero makes a great read to immediately give the ball back to Bam Adebayo, who just rolls about a foot in from where he started the pick and raises up with no hesitation into the jumper. This time, Bam Adebayo with another dribble handoff to Tyler Hero, who immediately gives the ball back to Bam. This time, Bam decides to use his athleticism as he should continue to do. I feel like he's found a nice mix over the last couple of weeks of using his athleticism to attack in plays like this, but also getting to that mid-range jump shot. I think you need to incorporate both to keep the defense honest. And in this case, he noticed he had a great runway to the rim after that quick pass from Tyler Hero. Obviously jumps to dunk on OG Anunoby. No way OG was going to stop that. And then this time you have Bam's other favorite partner in Duncan Robinson, where Bam's going to set the pick. Bam's going to set the pick right here. Duncan Robinson is going to go to the right side. There's that little bounce pocket pass. And when Bam races this quick, there's no way that anyone can contest this. I mean, by the time Bam catches the ball right here, he's got about 4 to 5 feet in every direction before any defender can come guard him. That's why when Bam gets to the top of his release here, OG actually does a decent job getting close on this one, and that's because OG Anunoby is a sensational defender with an extremely long wingspan, but obviously Bam is still bigger than him, and because he raises up so quick and gets this kind of elevation on his shot, there's no chance in hell that shot is going to be blocked at all. This time, Bam Adebayo is going to do a handoff for Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero immediately gives the ball back to Bam. That's Siakam in the paint that time, and Bam just raises up quick, and you can't guard it at this point. You can't guard that at all. I guess in this last one, you also see Miles Turner kind of hesitant on blocking the Bam shot right here, and you see that's because he knows that Bam might take him off the dribble too. So Bam has really made himself kind of a dual threat in regards to driving and pulling up in that mid-range, and I do think that's a huge reason why we've seen his points per game jump recently, and I think the percentage jump recently. And I guess a lot of that is also just his confidence getting back to where it was to end last season. But anyways, that's really all I got to say for this video. Last few years, Bam Adebayo seemed to start seasons great and then end them kind of poor. So maybe this season is the opposite, and I'm definitely looking forward to see what Bam has to do the rest of the year because he seems like a great guy. We've said it all the time. Udonis Haslem, Pat Riley, Alonzo Mourning, those guys passed the Heat culture torch to Bam Adebayo for a reason. Now, I wish they would do a better job sort of building around him now, because it took forever to get him a real 5 in Khalil Ware. And I think because of that, we're now seeing Bam Adebayo start to achieve his full potential. The problem with these last few seasons is Bam Adebayo is so elite defensively, especially guarding the perimeter, but we weren't able to see that side of him because he had to guard guys like Al Horford and Jusuf Nurkic. But now that you have Khalil Ware, we are starting to see Bam Adebayo get switched onto Trae Young a little bit, get switched onto Damian Lillard a little bit. And that makes me very excited. But also get him a point guard, like we were saying earlier. Like, he's averaging 22 points over the last 15 games. I'm not sure that's sustainable with this unit, but if you get him a point guard that can actually throw the lob and play the pick and roll consistently, they should go to the pick and roll 7 or 8 times a game minimum with Bam Adebayo. So if you were to get him a Trae Young or a LaMelo Ball or whoever, I really do think we'll start to see Bam get plenty of more easy baskets a game. And last year, he was already averaging like 19 points per game. So you add in a couple more pick and roll dunks, that's how you get to that 22 to 24 points, which I do think Bam Adebayo is capable of doing. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think Bam Adebayo's full potential looks like? Do you think he could be a 25-plus point per game scorer? Do you think he can be a perennial All-NBA guy? Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to like and subscribe because all the support is greatly appreciated. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.